All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back for another test. This time, the Anchor Soundcore 3i, which is a waterproof speaker, which is not only waterproof, but is also floatable. So you can have it in the water, it will float, and you don't need to worry about it. You can just bring it with you on your boat adventure. It has a strap that you can attach here and you can carry it with you. Um, it does have 50 rated, apparently, 50 watts of power. Nice rugged exteriors, which I do like. I'm not gonna lie. It looks nice, and it also has some nice party lights. In case you're into that kind of stuff, they're nice to have. It's certainly a night. They look nice. It also has a bass boost button. Now, I'm just cycling through the types of light effects. There is a button here. Now, when it comes to this bass up button, we will have a look when we do our test. When we do our audio test, on the back here, and we only have a USB-C port, and we will also test it against one of his older brothers, the Anchor Soundcore Boost, which is a bass-oriented speaker. And yeah, probably about the same kind of range when it comes to the cost, because this is now about 80 euros, 90 euros, depending on where you find it. And this used to be 70, 80 euros as well, but a couple of years ago now. It is a couple of years older. But yeah, let's put it to the test and let's see if these 2 years have improved its technology, gave it an advantage against the older one. Let's do it. No, I gotta say, I was pretty disappointed with what I was hearing on this bad boy. And obviously, the bass was really missing, lacking. And the highs are not certainly shining through. So it's time to switch on the bass boost mode, and as you can see also on the EQ, there was not much bass. Now let's do the test again with the bass on. Let's
Quiero probar tu beso. Ay, qué rico se ve eso. Te ves como travieso. Quiero probar tu beso. Quiero. Qué ricos,
Now, I hope you could hear the difference between bass mode on and bass mode off. And I have to tell you also, when the bass mode on button is selected, there are some songs, especially like hip hop, that have a lot of low kind of rumbly bass, low frequency. The speaker obviously doesn't manage to keep its cool. You know, it starts distorting. The bass starts distorting in an unpleasant manner, to be honest. So this was a big negative point for me, because when you have the bass mode on, the bass is actually okay. You know, it's there, especially like in mid bass kind of area, is very nice. Obviously, it doesn't get as low or as deep as better speakers or bigger speakers. But that distortion is really a bit of a problem, in my opinion. Now, let's also compare it to the older Anker Soundcore Boost. And yeah, you can make up your mind, see for yourself. Let's do it. Now, they're both at 26% volume. And let's start with the Anker Soundcore Boost.
ay, qué rico se ve eso. Te ves como travieso. Quiero probar tu beso. Ay, qué rico se ve eso. Te ves como travieso. Quiero probar tu beso. Quiero.
Now let's increase the boost volume to match the 3i.
Staring down the barrel, waiting for the final gates to open to a new tomorrow.
Now, the final considerations. Yes, I had to increase the volume of the Soundcore boost because the 3i is much louder, I gotta say. And that's I guess is because of the 50 watts, of course, RMS power, which is higher than the boost, obviously, much higher. But I gotta say that I can't find much of a difference in terms of sound. To me, it just sounds like they used very similar speaker producer, speaker technology, speaker brand, whoever is manufacturing them. I don't know if Anker manufactures them itself, probably not, probably somewhere in China. But it seems like it's just a speaker that is a tiny bit bigger, but it has the same sound profile. It doesn't have shiny highs. It's tuned a bit on the low kind of frequencies, like to emphasize the low, and that kind of creates that lack of spaciousness from, that a balanced speaker with a flat response should have, with good highs, decent clarity of the sound. But yeah, the most disappointing thing is that they sound really, really similar. And by the way, the Anker Soundcore Boost also has a bass up button, which I did not use for this comparison, just because I always use the boost with this EQ, which is almost stock, but it feels more balanced to me rather than keeping the bass up button on, which artificially boosts the bass. Just the songs, they just don't sound as balanced as without the bass up button off. So keeping this in bass up off mode, it misses a little bit of the bass of the 3i. So the 3i has a bit more bass. But when I switch on the bass up mode on the boost, it has almost the same kind of bass, with the difference that this one starts distorting because this starts vibrating and it starts distorting in a strange manner, while this doesn't. So, morale of the story, if you want a rugged speaker that you can bring to the beach, not care about it too much, if it breaks, it doesn't break, you want the strap, carry-on strap, and just take it with you at the beach, throw it in the sand, and hopefully it will be fine. Then by all means you can consider this speaker. It has nice lights, etc. But if you want to upgrade from the boost to the 3i, which is a couple of years older, a couple of years younger, then I would say it's probably not, you're probably not changing much in terms of sound. They sound they sound very similar. The only difference is this is not IP68 rated, it is not waterproof, it will not float. So if you like the exterior, the lights, the IP68 rating, and you want to bring it to the beach, waterproof, float proof, well, it does float, not float proof. But if you have the boost already, then I'd say you're probably good with the boost. In terms of score, as we give score, as on this channel we always give a score to the speakers, I'd give it a between 7 and 6.5, just because of this problem with the distortion of the bass. But I really like the exterior, so probably really like around 7, probably 7. And yeah, that's my POV on the Soundcore 3i, and thank you for watching as usual.